Trevor, Ready Check is about to start. Shox is missing for the next 2 weeks on the LEC. Your mission is to secure a new host for the LEC without the other members of the on-air talent team realizing that there has been any issue. Failure to maintain the secret of your last-minute planning could prove disastrous for the morale of your team.
Hey Trevor, how's it going?
Yeah.
Hey Trevor, how's it going? Hey Trevor, how's it going?
Hiya! Are you Machine, the host I am looking for?
Yes, I am the Machine. I am the host you are looking for. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Berlin, Germany for week 3 of the LEC Spring Split. The new season is well underway, and for some teams, the pressure is high after a slow start. SK Gaming, they're coming off of a 0-2 week and look for a much-needed win against the young Mad Lions. In Ready Check, we'll rate EU junglers and give you our frontrunner for Rookie of the Split. A small hint, he plays in our first game. Hello everyone, I'm back and I've got Dracos and Ender hanging out with me. And I didn't mess up the first segment.
You did
well
so
done.
Good. We're so proud. My only question is, when do we get to call you the Machine? It felt very formal, but I also liked
I want
it.
to call him that now.
Yeah, the Machine.
The Machine just, it makes it all a little more kind of like Terminator Arnie, whereas it's more
And you don't want that?
You don't want to be Terminator Arnie?
Look at me, man. I mean, I'm like an awkward, poor version of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Like, I mean, it's not quite
That's still pretty good, though. I mean, that's a good comparison still.
All right, anyway, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he will be obviously a main feature of the conversation tonight, as well as the LEC so far. Before we discuss who's the best jungler in Europe, this is my first week back in the LEC, so guys, fill me in. What on earth have I missed?
Okay, since you've been gone, a lot of things have happened.
Yeah.
One of them, Pantheon, different now. Still just as buff, still looks a lot like Leonidas. He's only hotter, and he's much more powerful. Banned just about every game except for this one, and you're going to see why in just a moment, because with a flash, Mickey's going to wipe out both these players. It looks close. It's not. This champion is nutso, and Mickey makes it look so easy.
Yeah, poor Shadow didn't even know what was happening. He thought his mid laner was recall, and all of a sudden he got dragged into the mud on that one too. There was another really sick outplay play too in a very similar situation later in the game, but Alfari had a really nice 1 versus 2 on the gangplank as well, turning things around later on before his team got involved, but still Alfari looking real good in 2020.
And I love this play because this is an advantage that Alfari built up over the course of the entire game, and now you get to see him reap the benefits. That 28 minutes of farming, it all pays off here because watch this. Bam, 1 shot, next guy coming in, oh, 1 more auto, takes him out, and that is a good feeling as a GP player. You hit that 3-item point, and you just get a whoo.
Dude, I love it too, Alfari with the spam laugh right on the dead body. You know,
I'm glad the BM's here, you know?
yeah, you know.
League of Legends, they're still making people feel bad about losing. I'm glad. Nothing's changed in that sense.
That'll never change. We also, you know, VODS got some special time in the spotlight too. It's a little unexpected, so let's check it out.
Hey guys, listen. No! Okay guys, listen. I know this doesn't look good for the Nocturne top lane right now, okay? I appreciate that he might be struggling, but I just want you to know that the champion does very well into this matchup, and, as Ender described, can in fact win the 1v1. The problem is the jungle intervention, and so if we could just remove them, you would all see how good Nocturne top lane actually is.
They nerfed the jungle. They're not supposed to do anything. That's what Ender told me.
I'm just don't blame the pick. Blame the players.
I mean, wise words, but the best part of that is missed because I've been told we lost the camera footage, but VODS doesn't have a mic, so we get one of these.
Yeah, I was on the desk.
Speaking into Ender's mic, get uncomfortably close to me. Yeah, that's perfect. That's super
You
uncomfortable.
guys are doing so well.
This is so uncomfortable.
This is the
I feel like his
distance.
nose kind of
So I'm over there trying to cast League of Legends, and VODS is shouting about Nocturne into Ender's face.
And I'm just trying my best not to laugh during the entire thing.
You can't even mute yourself.
No, I can't because he's talking, so I'm just like, what is going on? I can still smell the taste of his breath.
Yeah. Smell.
It was visceral.
Okay, no, it makes sense. Smell the taste of his breath. Yes, okay. Anyway,
right.
from bad breath to bad teams, let's talk about some of the teams we've yet to see their full potential, perhaps ones I'm less familiar with, because as I cast my eyes down the standings, a lot of this rings true, familiar with my last trip, I think it was week 8 last year. I am, however, seeing a new name. Talk to me about Mad Lions.
Yeah, well, the Mad Lions, they basically jumped into the splice spot here, and they got rid of pretty much the entire roster. Humanoid, the mid laner, is the only guy sticking around from 2019. And the really interesting thing about this squad is that they built almost an entire rookie presence around him. Major changes in the bot lane with Karzi and Kaiser being brought in as well. I think this team, even with so many rookies, has the potential to make it to playoffs.
And potential's a big word there, but it does look pretty promising so far. They've showed out, they've had solid fundamentals, and the coaching staff behind them. Same for a lot of the names that we saw from Splice last year, so people are giving them the benefit of the doubt.
And I assume the joke's been made a lot about Schalke Nulfear going Nulfear.
Yeah. No, it's mandatory Twitter points. It's like,
God,
say the
so
thing and everybody tweet.
it.
You're a little late, but we can give you a bit of credit.
It's still funny, though.
Let me have it. Okay, guys, that was my original joke. I'm glad you appreciated it. Schalke have gone null fear. Do you get? Talk to me about Schalke.
Wonderful. The thing about Schalke is it's a lot of names that I was excited to see back in the league or on a team together. Dreams. You got Forgiven coming back. You got Oldawamene top lane. Everything looks good. But it's an absolute mess, Alex. It's been a total disaster. Everyone's coming back, but it's not a good look. Forgiven is not the man that he once was.
Okay, last curveball for you on this point. How much time has he had, Forgiven, to get the ring rust off? Realistically?
Realistically, not a lot of time.
Okay, cool. So we'll keep our eyes open. Maybe I get to live my Forgiven fantasy one last time. But either way, this week on Euphoria, it was all about the jungle. And Dracos, you have made a tier list that I'm sure we've got some choice words for.
Wow, just sell me out before we even see the tier list. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Tear them apart.
All right, Ender, as the jungle expert here on the broadcast, I do want to know, so I think we look at the top. Are you with top 2? I feel like is the
sure
easy.
With you.
Yanko,
This is a pretty solid list. I will say that if we're weighing recent performance more, obviously 1 and 2, 100% locked in. Yanko's first, Xerxes second. It gets a little bit iffy past that point for me, especially with only 4 games being played in 2020. I think Kadril, after 4 games, deserves to be ranked 3rd. Now, Selfmade is a great player in his own right, but what I've seen with Fnatic, it hasn't been quite as much. Whereas Excel, Kadril, I mean, look at this, absolutely tearing apart in the early game and having a major impact.
I don't know, man. Kadril, he's been solid so far. It's been all right, but the quality of opponent they've played against hasn't been the highest. They've messed up in key moments. It's not 100% there. We had him on the podcast. I love what he's doing, but I'm not convinced by Kadril yet.
When Excel are messing up, that's later on in the game. That's out of Kadril's hands. He's level 12. The enemy team is all level 18. It's not his fault. Jungle's ruined.
He's the Jarvan. Let's be clear here. He's the go button. So if things are like going wrong on engage in the team fight, I'm holding him a little bit accountable.
But look how good he makes it for so long, man. I'm telling you.
All those numbers are at 15, Ender. There's a reason we don't take the numbers past that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, okay. So we understand. Kadril clearly does get some due credit, and I mean, considering how new he is to this radar, there's a lot of credit to be given to even be featured within that top 5 list. But what about the others? You know, you said you were uncertain about the 3 within the 5.
Yeah, so the thing is, Selfmade was ranked number 3 on your list, and as I said, I think Selfmade is very talented, but again, weighing recent performance, I don't think he's come out of the gate and really wowed a lot of people. Fnatic look really good. That's from a lot of early game plays, and let's be honest, I've seen a lot of Selfmade rolling into lanes after they've already been won, diving towers, dying, and he's having a good time, but I don't think he's the #1 factor as to why Fnatic are winning games right now.
He's absolutely not the #1 factor why Fnatic are winning, but I have seen some very solid early performances. Even in his first game, which they ended up losing, he burns 2 flashes before his first rotation really even finishes.
Okay, but he couldn't convert on those flashes to get kills.
He could not. But the thing is what I remember from last year, less recent, but more overall, is that Selfmade can be a big playmaker. When he starts to snowball, he keeps snowballing. He's going to win you games. And while Kadril has had a solid split thus far, he hasn't historically shown the same ceiling, and that's why I'm putting Selfmade above.
See, it's interesting that you bring up last year, too, because we all remember Spring Split Selfmade coming in and tearing apart the league. But in Summer Split, things were very not the same, and he was playing with a, mid laner that maybe wasn't top 10 in the LEC at that point, which makes jungling very difficult, but still, Selfmade came in at a high, and I think dipped down a little bit towards the end.
And how much do you value consistency for a jungler?
I value consistency very, very highly. With such an impactful early game role, to be, at the top list, you need to be consistent. And that's what you see out of junglers like Jankos and Xerxes.
Yeah, certainly, and that's the top 2 we'll be touching later. I mean, there's still another name on that list, and that was Inspired. Now, rookie of the split, I believe, last year.
And I think I can kind of speak for both of us. Inspired's a very mixed bag. I like the highs and lows of Selfmade, but those highs and lows kind of manifest in a very different way for Inspired. When he's doing really well, he looks like a cerebral jungler. You're like, oh, this man's a genius. He's so ahead of the meta. He's 5 steps ahead of everyone. But then when he's underwhelming, unlike Selfmade, who might run it down a little bit, Inspired just doesn't exist. He's like the Olaf who's farming, and you're like, wow, thank God this champion scales to late game. He doesn't.
Hey, did you watch the game this morning? All I'm saying, if you have Soraka Yuumi. No, I agree. I think a lot of problems with the Olaf pick and all that for Inspired can't necessarily be directly attributed to him. When you draft scaling lanes around this guy, it's hard to impact the map, but still, he plays a different style, I think, to a lot of our other junglers, where he is very buff-focused. He likes to invade the enemy jungle and gain leads for himself through those ways. And I just haven't felt like his pathing recently has been very unpredictable. From watching footage of him, I can see what he's going to do, and the top junglers are going to exploit that.
And top junglers is where I want to take it next. The top of the list, it was Xerxes and, of course, Jankos. Now, my first question is, of course, what separates him from those 3? And then we're going to turn it on its head with Jankos.
I think when you talk about consistency, Xerxes is definitely one of the names you look at. He's not as consistent as a guy like Jankos, but for the most part, you never look at him as a weak point. And the other thing is he's almost always a huge playmaker for the team. There are some games where you don't see that. G2 versus Origin is a good example, but overall, Xerxes is, next to Jankos, the #1 person you would want on your team in an instant. He's a good leader, he's a good innovator, and he's an incredible early game player.
And that's, of course, what we're looking out for. We just heard about the power of those first 15 minutes. But earlier this week, Kadril joined Dracos and Yamato on the Euphoria podcast. And for Excel's captain, it is absolutely clear who the best jungler is.
So #1 for me, none other than G2's Jankos. I feel like while we can look back at Worlds and talk about how much his Qiyana was atrocious, for the most part, he's incredibly consistent. He is a player who always feels like he goes into the game with a plan. He knows what he wants to be doing. And he's also just very good at adjusting where he needs to go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that playing against Jankos, you can notice that he's hard to shut down, hard to snowball against, and he never falls behind. And he's always where he needs to be most of the time. And he has a really wide champion pool. He can kind of play whatever he wants, from like Olaf to Kindred to Gragas, anything really. I think he is, consistently the best jungler in EU. And I think that you can look at historically as well. He's won MSI, he's won quite a few LEC titles now. And yeah, he always has been a pretty good jungler, I think, so he's the best.
I remember from working with Jankos back in Season 5 that even back then, his eye for setting up ganks was really unmatched in comparison to anyone else I've worked with. Like the First Blood King might sound like a meme at this point, but it really,
came from
really
somewhere. Yeah.
And the Rocket days, he always figured out ways how to go really, really hard in the early game. And this was an issue for us because in scrims, we won every game in 10 minutes. So when we were on stage and everyone plays like crumpled up under the turret, we didn't know how to play mid-game and so forth. So I put him on Nunu duty.
Wow, what a wonderful podcast that you can watch the full episode of on Apple Podcasts, or listen to rather, Spotify. You can watch it on YouTube, and really wherever you may regularly consume your podcasts.
Wait, what if I do it on some like super obscure website, like EnderWeirdChampPodcast.com?
Look, I'm not gonna lie, man. We're thirsty for those views. You tell me where to put the podcast, where to upload it, and it will happen.
Can someone make the website, please? Just a request, humble request.
URLs don't cost much, actually. It'll blow you away. I managed to get Machine GG, you know, and I'm not proactive.
But could you get the Machine GG? That's the important one.
I hate this prefix. We're not calling me the machine. It's over. Anyway, last summer, Jankos was awarded the MVP trophy in Athens before he and G2 managed to beat Fnatic in a final for the history books. Now, tomorrow, the two Titans clash again in a much anticipated rematch. And I mean, you guys, you're here to basically echo that sentiment. Anticipation, is it high?
Anticipation is very high. I'm nervous it won't live up to the hype because you look at this moment, and this was two back-to-back incredible best-of-5s between the two most historic lineups in European history.
Yeah.
It is almost impossible to top that. Now they're playing a best-of-1, and I'm praying we can get, you know, just a little bit of that hype here.
Exactly, and don't forget too, yes, we had the full 10 games in the summer, but the first game they played against each other in 2019 was a best-of-1 in the regular season, just like this one, and that went like 70 minutes. There was a base race at the end. Reckless Hillsang finished that one off, so very, very exciting whenever we see these two teams face off.
Yeah, so the 70-minute base race, LEC Summer Finals of 2019, we now get it next week, no, tomorrow. Tomorrow we get to see it again. So 2020, you're already getting to see some of that world-class League of Legends. And there is, of course, a couple of additional points to make to that. Not only is it two teams, it's two players with an EastEnders, that's for our UK viewers, an EastEnders level of drama attached to it.
Let me paint a picture before you say things that are much more intelligent, less narrative
go. Bob?
In order to succeed, Caps did the unthinkable. He left Fnatic, one of the greatest teams in European history. He stabbed Reckless in the back. We all know it. We saw it happen. And now, in the next season, he said, last year wasn't enough. I'm going to go down to his lane.
And I'm going to stab him in the face.
Yeah, I'm done stabbing people in the back. I'm going to look you eye to eye, Reckless, when I take you out. That's your clickbait narrative, folks. Line it up, copy, paste
That's
it.
way too long for any clickbait, unless the clickbait is Cap stabs Reckless.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exclamation point.
Stabbed in the face.
Exclamation point. Okay. So he's stabbing him in the face in the lane now. I'm confused. I remember that was the thing. Last time we talked about G2, it was like, oh, it's so cool. They're so edgy. Look at them swapping lanes. And now they've just done it again.
Now they're not edgy. They're just like, we know they're good, and we know they're good at that. So when Cap said he was swapping to the bot lane, while I thought it was a joke at first, I'm not even that surprised seeing it on paper.
Okay, not bad, not bad. Now, we'll soon give you our frontrunner for Rookie of the Split. But first, to make sure everyone is ready for the match of the week, our video team has prepared something that is truly spicy. This is Vindaloo spicy. This is Vindaloo with chili flakes on top. Let's check it out.
Looking to be extinguished.
Rivalries are no easy thing. Competition beyond competition. Every battle is simply a piece of a much larger story. Ambition, sacrifice, betrayal, victory above all. You can sit back and bear witness, or you can stand with those you believe in. So I ask you, Europe, will you rise for your champions? Will you stand?
When you have a history with someone, and a very long one, you are just bound to have emotions, right? I don't want to lose to them, right? It's not even about beating them, it's about not losing to them.
G2 and Fnatic, two of the best teams on the planet, go head-to-head for a spot in the final. Let's get to the action.
This game is descending into madness. Who's going to pick it up? It's secured by G2! There's fights all across the map right now, but it's G2 falling time and time again.
Last year, I think that's where the rivalry started for real.
Oh, that's already a kill to flip though. Hurts manages to kill Reckless. G2 esports have bounced back from the clutches
they kind of had our number the entire year.
Fnatic versus G2, the final everyone was waiting for. These two titans of European League of Legends clashing on Summoner's Rift. Here comes the charge in from the side as G2 are looking for the fight. The attack's going to go down. Off towards the side as well. Mickey has fallen and Fnatic are coming out on top. G2 can do nothing about it. And now it's a 4v5. Wonder takes out Boxer. The second kill goes down as Whipper falls. And G2 by 3. The barrel doesn't land, but the torp comes out. And now it's an all-right brawl in the bottom lane. And it's Fnatic who are coming out on top.
Fnatic, we are going to game 5.
Whenever we go up against each other, it's always a pretty heated battle.
Everyone knows what it's like to be losing and bounce your way back.
Flashes forward, first blood to him.
People keep fighting until the very end.
Whipper jumping in, and it's like there as well. Look at the damage, it's Fnatic. They fight the fight. G2 overstep.
It's just one play away from victory.
Whipper takes down Jankos, and look at that. Nemesis is falling at the start of the fight. It's all on Reckless. And G2 are your champions.
I feel like after last year, we truly have that grudge to double them.
I don't want to just win, I want to like smash them, right? Just want them smacked, you know?
Whoever wins becomes the king of Europe, no matter what.
The king of Europe, no matter what. And something else that stood out to me in that one was this, I think it was Reckless saying, we don't want to lose to these guys. It's not about beating them, it's about not losing to them. And I thought that was like the de facto loser's mindset. I thought you always had to play to win.
I just think that like the amount of, from a pro player perspective, from an audience perspective, it's like, this is the greatest thing ever. From a pro player perspective, there's probably so much baggage because you're like, I'm going to get 3 months worth of hate messages in 2 days if I lose this game. It's a lot of pressure.
It's a good point. Yeah, I mean, the fan base is always going to stoke the fuel and the flames, as well as you guys with your story.
There's also the fact, right, that like, we gotta get rid of that. We gotta get rid of that, guys.
Ender, bring us back on track. Rock the boat. Let's go.
All right, I'm gonna rock the boat and just say, G2, you know, after seeing all of 2019, they're the team that everyone has to look up to, and that cannot be a good feeling. Yeah. So you have to be able to somehow find these wins. Otherwise, you go in, you get 3-0'd, it's demoralizing, and then what else is there?
What else?
The season's over.
I'll tell you what is there right now. It's the schedule. So it's been an explosive start to the year, and in a week 3, we're turning the heat up even more. The power of G2 will be tested to the limit against Rogue and Fnatic, and later today, we'll see Schalke's new jungler Lurox in action, as much as he sounds like a toilet cleaning product. Misfits Gaming, we'll see what they can do as well. But it's time for us to focus our attention on none other than SK Gaming versus the rather crazy Lions. This is Mad Lions, and I have got so many questions for you. For this one, we are on Rookie Watch with 5 rookies taking to the stage. That's not one, that's 5.
And look, I'll kick us off because I'll say one man who is definitely not a toilet cleaning product is Carzzy. This guy is out of control.
I mean, if he's a toilet cleaning product, he's the best in the business,
I can just hear my mum in the other room going,
best.
"Get the Lurox!" You know? Just me? Okay.
No, Carzzy is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
I know we're joking right now, but Carzzy really on top of his game. And I know that he has this ability, not just from seeing 4 games, but also watching him in the Prime League beforehand, playing in the ERLs, trying to make his way up to the LEC stage. And he's always been this player with almost no fear. He's the guy that will flash forward in fights and go for the kill.
And he's a guy who came in and in his first game versus G2 Esports, immediately kills Mickey, then kills Jankos in the follow-up play, and some people might call it a supreme display of Aphelios balance, but really, he was monstering. The confidence to step forward, to punish. You can see in that play, flashing forward as well with the MF ult. It's just fantastic to see someone enter the league with this much confidence. It's something you see so infrequently, and whenever it does happen, it's always pretty much the best thing to watch.
A rookie with confidence, Ender. I mean, is this quite a rare combination from your observation?
I mean, we've seen rookies with confidence before, and it becomes an interesting task for these rookies because you come in with a lot of raw skill, and you're obviously a good player right off the bat, but the difference between a good and a great player is wide. And mainly for the position, for ADC, it comes down to consistency at its core. Because you look at players that have been playing at the top of our league for so long, like a Reckless, right? He's consistent. He's not the super flashy guy that makes these insane plays. plays, you always know that he's going to come in and give a solid performance.
Like a safe pair of hands.
Exactly, exactly. But Carzzy comes in, right? He's the guy that flashes in. You know, he sometimes dies, right? He dies a lot in his games. If you just check the stats, does a ton of damage, but also dies. The process for him now is about making that evolution, taking the raw talent, and then knowing how to refine it and make the right choice all the time.
But we have to acknowledge the rest of the stats lines too, right? Because yes, he does die a lot. Yes, he takes a lot of risks, but he's also crushing in lane. 12 up on CS. The damage per minute off the charts. 36.7. Clearly kind of the hyper carry for this team. When he's set up for success, he does succeed. But I think you're right, Ender. I think that you should ask for more from him in the weeks to come. And I think that as much as I'm like, yes, flash in, flash in, flash in. That's from like a spectator point of view. From a coach's point of view, you should probably be like, all right, chill. Ask the hard-hitting, or ask the questions in the moment. Do you need to make the big play? How do you actually win this game as a team? Not do, how do you, Carzzy, make the flashiest highlight you can possibly make?
Right, now they if I'm not mistaken, they played G2 in their first week, right?
Yeah.
How did that matchup go? You know, you've got a rookie stepping up against world and local champions.
Well, I talked about it a little bit. I mean, the early laning phase looked a little grim as they kind of got shoved in under tower. He was really struggling early on, but then a single mistake from Caps and Mickey X when they were caught watching top lane instantly turned against them. They won the 2v2, then Jankos came in, they won another 2v2, forcing a flash as well. So as far as openings go, that's about the strongest you could hope for, because if they beat G2, that would be just above and beyond. We would say it's ridiculous, but just having a strong laning phase is so good.
And right now, I'm already pretty convinced that Carzzy, very good in lane. It seems like he's caught on with Kaiser very well, works very well as a duo in that bottom lane already. It really is when it comes to more of the team fight stage that I really have an eye for, because that's sort of the thing. That's the high pressure situations that you need a rookie to be able to step up. Right. And that's what we're going to continue to try and track throughout Carzzy's career, because I do believe that this is a player that could make a case for rookie the split. This is a player that could make a case to stay in our league for a long time. And then it is, does he play on a bottom tier team and just, you know, get the bills through the months, or does he really ascend?
Rookie of the split, Dracos. Does that land on your ears comfortably?
I mean, I bet on the Euphoria podcast that he was going to be rookie of the split. I think it's a big task ahead of him. He's also said himself that he believes that he will be top, or wants to be, his big goal is top 3 overall. And I think that is it's a very impossible task, because you look at the names that he has to push out. Forgiven, even when he's struggling, still a big name. You have players like Caps, Reckless, Han Sama, Patrick is looking fantastic on Excel. So you have to butt out 3 or 4 people to be in contention for top 3, all of whom are infinitely more experienced than you are. That's a big, huge order.
Right, because we've been talking, you know, for the last almost year, it feels like, how stacked the bot lane position is in Europe. It really does speak a lot to this player that we're even giving him this type of attention as a new player in the league, because it would be very easy to just write him off, say, we've got all these other players that are so phenomenal. But no, I really do believe that this guy can make waves in the league.
Now, we're stepping into week 3. We've had our first 2, you know, opening jitters, ring rust. That can all be dismissed after at least the first, if not the second week. Week 3, is it time for us to start perhaps seeing the middle of the pack start to be defined a little more? We've only got G2 undefeated. The top 2, 3 makes sense. Dracos, what do you say?
I think so. When you look at a lot of these matchups, it's between teams that are either struggling to find a win or haven't really gotten off running, right? We only have a few battles of top teams, which means that there's a ton of opportunity to prove yourself above the people you're directly competing right now for playoff spots. Sure. Yes, it's still early, but that also means that a team like SK could suddenly rise up, could prove to be better than Mad Lions. Mad Lions definitely the front runners, but after last week, given the dramatic changes we saw in so many teams between week 1 and week 2, this week I think we'll do a lot better job of setting the tone for what we can expect.
Especially because right now I feel like the sort of bottom half middle is so muddy right now. You know,
it's such
like
a mess.
You have teams like Misfits. I wasn't expecting to do super well. I thought Excel was going to be hot, but no, Misfits upset Excel then. So right now, I don't really think we have a clear grasp outside of sort of those top teams, and that's especially what then gives room for a very new squad in Mad Lions to make a dent, especially early on, while every other team with a lot of roster changes is trying to put the pieces together. This team, even though they have so many fresh faces, still has the ability to come in and pick up wins early, especially.
Okay, so we're going to be finding out how Mad Lions fare in this battle versus Schalke Null Fear. Will it be Null Funf? We'll find out, but some of the hypest games of the year are awaiting in week 3. So without further ado, let's get into the action.
Thank you very much, The Machine. Welcome back to the LEC. I'm QuickShot, joined by Frostgurren. And that last topic of discussion that the analyst was talking about was The middle of the pack teams trying to gain some clarity on actually who's going to step up and be challenging for those last few playoff spots. And it was one of the big things that we were talking about when we look at the 3 first games of the week.
Yeah, it's this idea of who's kind of top of the bottom pack. And it's the fact that we know where our outliers are. You know who your top end teams are. You know who the absolute bottom tier teams are. And now we have this week where you finally get to see, 7th versus 6th, 9th versus 8th, and really put order to what they called a very muddy middle of the pack.
And of course the question is then, who's going to demonstrate growth and development? That's what we want to see. SK Gaming only 1 win to their name, Vitality. Mad Lions have picked themselves up 2 wins.